The government of Venezuela announced on Friday the dismantling of a network of internal coyotes that sought to destabilize the country. In Haiti, after a confrontation between armed groups, criminals set fire to the hospital of the country's state university, leaving at least 3 people dead and several wounded. And the government of Greece declared a state of emergency on Anafi island due to the earthquakes that have been shaking the area in recent days. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The government of Venezuela announced on Friday the dismantling of a network of internal coyotes that sought to destabilize the country. This way, during the program, Sintruco Nimañas, the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, stated that with the network linked to which 3 persons were arrested, the extreme right wing was seeking to sow a campaign of fear and uncertainty among young people. In the same program, Cabello pointed out that part of the resources for this operation were financed by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. Furthermore, he assured that the term Aragua Train is part of a narrative against the country with the objective of creating a non-state to justify an intervention.
Yesterday we finished dismantling the network of internal coyotes that has not been informed on before. But we dismantled the network of internal coyotes, we finished dismantling it. Who were they? Well, for example, that group was the one that worked to get Leopoldo Lopez out of Venezuela, and they were planning to rescue Rocio San Miguel and another detained person from a clinic when she was taken to be operated on, in order to extract them.
A rise in hate crimes has led Bahia, the Brazilian state with the highest proportion of black residents, to inaugurate its first specialized police station for crimes of religious intolerance and racism. Our correspondent Brian Meyer has more.
118 million Brazilians have African heritage. This influence can be seen in organized religions like candomblé, which is practiced by millions of people. With a rise in popularity of evangelical Christian churches, however, crimes against Afro-Brazilian religious followers are on the rise. In 2024, Brazil registered 3,853 religious hate crimes, up 80% from 2023.
We've suffered racism and intolerance from the moment we were pulled out of Africa. It came with slavery, and this didn't change after we arrived in Brazil. Even though Brazil is a secular nation which has a statute that guarantees racial equality and the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion, it doesn't happen in practice. Racism and religious intolerance have been increasing in Bahia and Brazil.
Typical crimes against followers of African-based religions include evangelical pastors with loudspeakers leading exorcisms in front of candomblé temples, harassment of worshippers, death threats, and arson against temples. In response to this problem, the Bahia Civil Police have created its first specialized police station for racism and religious hate crimes.
Bahia is a state with a lot of black people and Salvador is a city with a lot of black people. Nevertheless, we have a lot of crime of racism and religious intolerance in this city. This is why we had to create a specialized police station to conduct investigations as quickly and effectively as possible and provide answers to society.
It's hoped that other police departments across Brazil will found similar stations based on the Bahia Civil Police model. Brian Mir, TeleSUR, Salvador.
In Haiti, after a confrontation between Arab groups, criminals set fire to the hospital of the country's state university, leaving at least 3 people dead and several wounded. The healthcare center, located in the capital Port-au-Prince, was reportedly left in a deplorable condition. Precisely, the hospital was the only place where Haitians could access medical care, including dialysis. In the aftermath of the incident, health authorities and the media are on the scene working towards reopening the vital institution. At the same time, thousands of Haitian families have been forced to leave the area due to the tensions caused by the presence of criminal groups and the insecurity crisis. Displaced people denounced the government's inaction against the organizations that plague the Salina neighborhood and other areas of Port-au-Prince. The Order of Human Rights Defenders warned that violence by criminal groups in Haiti left at least 6,938 people dead, 1,648 injured, and another 1,515 kidnapped in 2024. And now we have a short break coming up, but we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. President Donald Trump announced on Thursday a set of reciprocal tariffs on his country's trading partner that will match the rates applied by each nation to the United States. After the announcement of the measure, the president signed a memorandum on the matter, which will allow his administration to execute the review process to implement the initiative. Trump assured that the equalization of tariffs with other countries would lead to the return of pharmaceutical, automotive, and integrated circuit manufacturers to U.S. soil, boosting job creation. However, analysts have said that the tariff policy could backfire on Trump if his agenda increases inflation and slows economic growth, making it a high-risk gamble for the country.
On trade, I have decided, for purposes of fairness, that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them, no more, no less. In other words, they charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them the exact same tax or tariff. Very simple. In addition, we will make a provision for subsidies provided by countries in order to take economic advantage of the United States, which a lot of countries do, including our allies. Our allies, in many cases, are worse than our enemies in this, having to do with trade.
According to recent figures, at least 7 out of 10 violent deaths in Mexico are caused by illegally trafficked firearms. According to the National Public Security System, last year's homicide rate reached 72.92%, the highest figure ever recorded. It is estimated that more than 200,000 weapons from the United States enter the country each year through criminal groups, which is why the Mexican government has called on Washington to implement a strategy to increase the effectiveness of the fight against the trafficking of weapons that cross the border from its territory and end up in the hands of criminals. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has questioned the way U.S. military weapons end up in the hands of criminal gangs in Mexico.
How can it be explained that a grenade launcher for the exclusive use of the United States Army is in the hands of a criminal group in Mexico? This is what we need to coordinate and work together to prevent. How high-powered weapons for the exclusive use of the United States Army, a criminal group in Mexico, has them?
The Prime Minister of Georgia accused the U.S. Agency for International Development, known as USAID, of planning color revolutions in the country as well as interfering in its electoral decisions. The USAID was involved in the planning and implementation of revolution processes. There is concrete evidence of this, including video evidence, said Prime Minister Irakli Kobatije. According to the executive, the organization has also been directly involved in the political and electoral processes on the country, and in this regard, Kobatije expressed his satisfaction that the new U.S. administration is finally talking about all the irregularities surrounding USAID's activities. The 61st edition of the Munich Security Conference MSC kicked off in Germany, focused on the new United States administration, negotiations with Ukraine and tensions with China. The annual meeting, which brings together heads of state, defense ministers, diplomats and experts in international relations, will be held from February 14th to 16th, having current conflicts in the world as one of the key topics on the agenda. The preliminary report of the MSC affirms that the United States is not being seen by the world as the supposed warrantor of liberal international order. Precisely, U.S. President Donald Trump assured the presence of Russian diplomats, which was later denied by a spokeswoman of the Russian nation's foreign ministry, Maria Zakharova. The Chinese government urges to avoid a scenario of confrontation as political divisions in the Asia-Pacific region happens. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Guo Yakun stresses that nations should establish relations and cooperation without involving third parties. The spokesman urges not to push confrontational agendas that create unnecessary tensions that could harm regional and global security. This comes in the wake of the recent meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during which the U.S. President highlighted an increase in arms sales into India, including F-35 fighter jets. We have a second tour break coming up, so don't get away. We'll be right back with more informations. Welcome back to From the South. Authorities denounced the resumption of Israeli expansionist plans to occupy the West Bank and expel Palestinians. Palestinian experts denounced the construction of new settlements and roads by Israel, which exposes its strategic expansion plan. They point out that the settlers have been carrying out a gradual annexation in the West Bank since 1967, based on the division of the West Bank into corridors with the aim of separating the Palestinian cities and connecting the settlements by a network of independent roads. The Commission of Resistance to the Wall and Settlements warned of the confiscation of more land and denounced the violation of international law to make life difficult for Palestinians in order to force them to live under the pretext of voluntary migration. In this context, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, criticized the offensive of the Israeli occupation forces against the West Bank. In a communique, UNICEF expressed its deep concern at the high human cost and the deterioration of children's lives caused by the attacks and bombardments of the Palestinian territories. The agency denounced that in 2025 alone, at least 13 children were killed in the West Bank, an increase of 200% since the intensification of aggressions on October 7, 2023. The officials condemned all acts of violence, especially in the governorates of Jenin, Tulkarem, and Tubas, and called for a cessation of hostilities in the West Bank for the sake of children and the population. And the Vatican informed on Friday that Pope Francis has been admitted to the Agostino Gemelli Hospital for diagnostic tests and for the treatment of an ongoing bronchitis. The Supreme Pontiff of the Catholic Church had met with the President of Slovakia, Roberto Fico, as part of his scheduled agenda, but he was admitted to the health facility soon afterwards. Due to his health condition, meetings had been held in his residence, Casa Santa Marta, foregoing the usual papal palace. The hospitalization comes after the Pope had to interrupt the homily of a Mass in St. Peter's Square on Sunday due to breathing difficulties. Then on Wednesday, he halted the reading of the catechesis to the general audience. The government of Greece declared a state of emergency on Anafi island due to the earthquakes that have been shaking the area in recent days. The civil protection authorities indicated that the measure applied to the island located in the Cyclades archipelago will be enforced until March 13th. Previously, the government established a seismic alert for the islands of Santorini and Amargos. Up to February 8th, more than 12,800 tremors have been recorded in the Aegean area, the strongest being a magnitude of 5.3 recorded some 20 kilometers southeast of Amargos. Heavy rains in Peru have affected more than 2,800 houses and 14 others have been destroyed. Infrastructure damage and roads were also affected in the Ica region south of the country. In a press release, the National Civil Defense Institute reported that the damage includes 2 educational institutes, a health center, 6.2 kilometers of communication lines, 200 hectares of crops, drinking water and electricity. They also indicated that they are still evaluating possible effects on the geoglyphs of the Ingenio Archaeological Reserve, where tents were installed in the sport complex by the municipality, as well as in other districts of Changuillo Hospital in Santiago, Parqueona and Santa Cruz. Therefore, Indus urges to keep local emergency centers active. And the second edition of the Islamic Arts Biennale is being held in Saudi Arabia, a meeting that seeks to modernize the Islamic tradition. Let's see.
The city of Jeddah, on the shores of the Red Sea, hosts this event covering 100,000 square meters with 5 exhibition halls and numerous open-air spaces, displaying more than 500 pieces, including modern objects and ancient works. The biennial, the first and only exhibition in the world dedicated to the arts of the Islamic civilization, is committed to the juxtaposition of relics with the aim of transforming the ultra-conservative image of this religion.
Islam is a lived system. It is experienced by billions of people from around the world. Our experiences with Islam shape culture, shape our understanding of ourselves. In the Biennale, this bringing together of the contemporary past really emphasizes the change that Saudi Arabia is going through. No other.
This Islamic Arts Biennial features the participation of more than 30 artists from all over the country, as well as guests from the Gulf region and other countries, allowing visitors to view objects and works from various parts of the world. Included in the exhibitions are displays from sacred sites, such as Mecca and Medina, including Islamic holy objects such as the sacred Kiswa. There are also collections from the cultures of Mali, Qatar, and Turkey, and samples from more than 30 of the world's most important institutions, including the Vatican Apostolic Library in Vatican City, the Louvre Museum in Paris, and the Victoria and Albert Museum in London.
Yeah, for me, the Islamic arts context, it's definitely given me a lot of thought and research and diving deeper into what it means to me and what it means to us regionally. And again, it's about, I think, recontextualizing, reframing, putting it within the global context, but also historical, you know? So.
The biennial seeks to offer a perspective on the way in which diverse cultures interact and endure. By combining historical objects from Islamic cultures with contemporary art, it allows to explore the beliefs of faith through feeling, thought, and creation. The exhibition will be open until May 25th of this year.
And with this information, we have come to the end of this news brief. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.